pagan pathways, Wicca, Voodoo, Norse runes, and earth-based mags. Throughout history, the most targeted, erased, and misrepresented spiritual systems have not been the ones tied to elite institutions, but those tied to the earth. Indigenous folk and land-based magical systems have been collectively categorized under the misleading term paganism. This word, used by Christian empires to describe anything non-biblical, has since become a catch-all for hundreds of diverse traditions that share one core truth. The sacred is embedded in nature, cycles, and direct personal experience, not intermediated through a church or state. In this video, we're going to explore several key earth-based systems that have been labeled pagan, primitive, or dark, not because they were dangerous, but because they were autonomous, decentralized, and spiritually potent. We will examine the origins, structure, and current distortions of Wicca, Santeria, Voodoo, Norse Satyr, and other nature-centric magical practices. Let's begin with Wicca, one of the more publicly accepted forms of modern paganism in the West. Wicca is a 20th century reconstruction of pre-Christian witchcraft traditions. Popularized by Gerald Gardner in the 1950s, Wicca draws heavily from Celtic folklore, ceremonial magic, and earth-honoring festivals. At its core, Wicca is duotheistic, recognizing both a goddess and a god, often symbolized by the moon and sun, or the mother and the horned god archetypes. Wiccan practice follows the Wheel of the Year, an annual cycle of 8 sabbats or festivals, including Samhain, Beltane, Imbolc, and Litha. These dates align with seasonal transitions, solstices, and equinoxes. Rituals are often conducted within a sacred circle, calling upon the 4 elements, earth, air, fire, and water, and honoring deities or ancestral forces. The Wiccan Rede, "And it harm none, do what ye will," is commonly cited as a moral guideline, although interpretations vary. It is critical to understand that Wicca, while inspired by ancient traditions, is not the same as the historical practices of Celtic or European tribes. It is a modern system, reconstructed from fragments and personal gnosis. That said, it has served as a gateway for thousands to reconnect with nature, reclaim feminine divinity, and challenge dogmatic religious systems. Yet even Wicca has been sanitized to fit public consumption, often stripped of its deeper initiatory work and repackaged into commercial witch kits or Instagram rituals. This dilution serves the same function as religious demonization. It removes the power of real earth-based magic by making it superficial. Moving from Europe to the Americas, we encounter Santeria, a syncretic religion originating in Cuba that combines Yoruba spiritual practices from West Africa with Catholic imagery. When enslaved Africans were brought to the Caribbean, they were forbidden from practicing their native religions. To survive, they adapted, disguising their orishas, or deities, behind Catholic saints. Santeria, also known as Regla de Ocha, centers around these orishas, each representing a force of nature, a human attribute, and a cosmic principle. Initiates of Santeria undergo serious spiritual training, divination through cowrie shells or ifa systems, and ritual work involving offerings, music, drumming, and possession states. These are not theatrical acts. They are encoded spiritual technologies designed to connect the human with the divine. Santeria is not voodoo dolls and curses, as it's been portrayed. It is a structured priesthood, often including herbal knowledge, community guidance, and ancestral healing. The demonization of Santeria and similar Afro-Caribbean systems is deeply racialized, driven by colonial fear of African power and cultural autonomy. Similarly, Voodoo, more accurately spelled Vodou in its Haitian form, is a West African diasporic religion with roots in Dahomey, Benin, and Nigeria. Like Santeria, it was syncretized under colonial rule. In Vodou, practitioners honor LWA, or spirits, who serve as intermediaries between humans and the divine source. Each LWA has distinct preferences, colors, rhythms, and ritual requirements. Vodou ceremonies often include drumming, singing, dance, and spirit possession, not as entertainment, but as spiritual interface. Western media has relentlessly misrepresented Vodou, portraying it as dark, violent, or demonic. This distortion serves 2 purposes. It reinforces white supremacy by criminalizing African spiritual heritage, and it prevents people from recognizing that Vodou contains highly advanced metaphysical systems, including trance work, energy manipulation, and multidimensional healing. The feared voodoo doll, for example, is a simplistic caricature of puppet magic, a technique also used in European folk magic to create symbolic representations for healing, protection, or release. Now we turn north to Norse Satyr, an ancient Scandinavian magical tradition practiced before the spread of Christianity across northern Europe. Satyr was often the domain of women, particularly vulvas or seeresses, who entered trance states to see the future, speak with spirits, and cast energetic workings. These women were deeply respected in pre-Christian Norse society, though later vilified by Christian invaders who sought to erase feminine spiritual authority. Satyr involved ritual chanting, galdur, staff work, and spirit travel, often using drums or rhythmic tools to alter consciousness. Runes were also central to Norse magic. Each rune represented not just a letter, but a cosmic force. Rune casting allowed practitioners to receive messages from the unseen realms or influence energetic events. Today, Norse magic is experiencing a revival, but it has also been misappropriated by extremist ideologies that twist cultural heritage into political agendas. True Norse practice was earth-based, spirit-honoring, and matrifocal in its earliest forms. What unites all these systems, Wicca, Santeria, Voodoo, Seder, is a shared understanding that spirit and nature are not separate, and that human beings are not passive observers of the cosmos, but active participants. These systems teach that plants have spirits, water has memory, stones carry codes, and ancestors remain present. Rituals are not symbolic games. They are spiritual technologies developed over generations, refined through direct communion with the land, the elements, and non-physical intelligence. So why were these systems suppressed? Because they posed a direct threat to imperial control. They could not be centralized. They offered spiritual authority outside the church. They empowered women, healers, midwives, and common people to interface with the divine without priesthoods, taxes, or doctrine. To dismantle indigenous sovereignty, colonizers first targeted the medicine woman, the drumming priest, the trance seer. Their ceremonies were banned, their tools destroyed, their language recoded as superstition. Even today, many of these systems survive in coded form, in folk remedies, family traditions, or hidden enclaves. Others have been diluted or commercialized. But beneath the distortion, the wisdom remains. And it is the responsibility of modern spiritual seekers to discern what is true, what is stolen, and what has been twisted for profit or control. One of the modern challenges with earth-based magic is cultural appropriation. When spiritual tools are taken from oppressed cultures by outsiders who do not understand or respect their original context, harm can occur. Burning sage, wearing headdresses, or invoking orishas without lineage or training isn't just disrespectful. It can open energetic portals the practitioner is not prepared to manage. This is not about gatekeeping. It is about energetic responsibility. At the same time, we must also protect against the erasure of authentic practices. Not every person who uses herbs or drums is appropriating. Many people are reclaiming practices their ancestors were forced to forget. The key is humility, study, and alignment. When engaging with a system outside your bloodline or culture, ask, am I honoring the source? Am I doing the work? Or am I extracting symbols without understanding their roots? The return to earth-based magic is not a trend. It is a spiritual correction. In a world ruled by digital simulation, mechanical medicine, and corporate ritual, the callback to plants, sky, drum, and ancestor is not nostalgia. It is survival. Pagan paths are not primitive. They are foundational. They teach that to be human is to live in rhythm with the land, to know the language of the seasons, to speak with water and fire, and to see through the eye of the soul, not just the eye of the mind. They were never myths. They were never games. They were systems of power, and they still are. Hi, I'm Adeline Atlas. 11 times published author and School of Soul has just released one of our most requested deep dives, the Magic and Occult series. This series is not for the faint of heart. It's for those who know there's more going on beneath the surface, behind the media, behind the family, behind the system. This series breaks the spell and hands you the map. The Magic and Occult series includes over 200 videos on 1. Entertainment or ritual. Decoding mainstream media as mass spellwork. 2. Occult families. Spot them. How generational magic and ritual lineage hides in plain sight. 3. Occult symbolism. The signs, seals, and signals used to claim, curse, or command. 4. Esoteric symbolism. Layered meaning, sacred geometry, and encoded messages. 5. Law is magic. How contracts, courts, and language are rituals of power. 6. Spells and spirits. What magic really is, and what happens when you use it. 7. Covens and lodges. Where modern ritual happens, and who's involved. 8. Destiny swapping. How rituals steal timelines, talent, or soul contracts. 9. Energy harvesting. Spiritual parasitism, and how to seal your field. 10. The clairs. Your intuitive senses. Clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and more. 11. Become magical. How to strengthen your gifts, protect your mind, and wield conscious force. 12. Miracles are real, divine intervention, faith portals, and supernatural reversals. 13. The chosen ones. What sets them apart and why they're always targeted. 14. The black sheep, the generational breaker, often isolated by design. 15. Targeted individuals, spiritual and technological targeting of aware souls. 16. Gang stalking, organized spiritual and psychological warfare. This is the most revealing, most spiritually advanced, and most protective series SOS has ever released. If you've ever felt something was off about this world, this will confirm it and prepare you for what comes next. Your protection begins with knowledge. Join the SOS School of Soul Vault.